Hey, everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm so blessed and honored to be here with my friend, Kate DeWald from Oncue. Kate, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ben. Thanks. It's such an honor to be here.
It's so great having you here, and I'm so stoked about this. And we were catching up a little bit in the green room before the show, but I'm so stoked about this because as we're coming up on the 500th episode of Love and Relo, you were one of our early conversations. You were one of the first people that came on. You were before I had my own company, before we had a set. You came on, and I want to learn about your journey and Oncue's journey over the last 3 years because it's been incredible. And you've taught me so many things about entrepreneurship, and you've shared your journey with me, and you've been there for me to kind of ping you random questions, in the out of nowhere, and just been so cool about it. And I just want to celebrate that too, and ask you a bunch of questions about that when we get into it. Is that cool? Can I take you down memory lane a little bit?
Absolutely. I would love to go down memory lane with you, Ben. And
Okay.
congratulations on coming up on your 500th episode. What an accomplishment. That is incredible.
Thank you. It's been something, and it's been a wild ride. And I've got to talk to so many people, and you're one of those people that I got to talk to and learn about. And get in the comments right now if you're watching this. Hit that like button. I want to know what your questions are about, sales, about because we're going to talk about sales and how that's the lifeblood of every company, not just moving companies, but every company, how it can be done better, what some best practices are. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and Kate's journey and my journey, and just kind of how that kind of has been kind of intertwined and kind of arcing in a similar direction, although hers might be a little more meteoric than mine. And we're going to get into all that. So leave your questions here. We got people checking in here before we get into it. I got to tell a story about you, Kate. Is that okay if I tell everybody a
Yeah,
little story?
sure.
Okay. Drew saying excited for today's episode. Great to see you both. Hashtag 500. What's up, Drew? Drew. And by the way, Kate, you don't know this, or maybe you do know this, but we're having an event here in Dallas for the 500th episode. It's like a massive, massive event. It's like an experience, like an all day experience with
Ooh,
speakers, and we're doing some really cool things. I can't even tell you some entertainment. It's gonna be epic, but it's gonna be for all the people who have been on the show. So you don't have to commit right now on camera,
all right.
but I'm inviting you to be there. And it'd be cool if you can make it. Just saying.
Have Adam send me the dates. I'll check it out.
Okay. All right. It's August 3rd. If you're watching out there, Jason Macias says, "Can I be 501 like the jeans, timeless and classic?" Sure, Jason. This is funny. People, Christina Rushia from Mexico, ready to listen. Congrats on 500. Thank you so much, Christina. Adam Sotelo, episode 497. This is wild. So pumped to have Kate on this one. Adrian's checking in. Hit that like button. Get in the comments. I want to know what your questions are. We're talking about sales. We're talking about moving. We're talking about technology. Talking about different approaches. Talking about entrepreneurship. But I want to tell one story real quick about Kate, because if you don't know Kate, I want to tell you what kind of person Kate is. Kate was on my show early days, and literally early days, Kate, you might remember this. It was just like me and a laptop and just a half baked idea of something to talk about, and a willing participant enter you. And you came on, and you were so awesome. And afterwards, we were just chatting. I was telling you kind of like where I was at with it, and like how I was just doing this thing on like a shoestring and a prayer. And you sent me a a microphone. You sent me a Yeti Nano microphone, a professional microphone. And I thought that was the most considerate thing. And I think it changed the production value of the show, at least for 6 months, because then I broke it like an idiot, because I'm an idiot. I broke it. And I was using it every day. We were doing a show a day back then. I broke it. And I think I just told you, like, oh, it was so nice of you to send me this. I'm just really sorry I broke it. And you sent me another microphone, Kate.
That I did.
You're my kind of crazy, Kate DeWald. I appreciate you so much.
I could tell from the early days that you were going to do great things and big things, and you were meant for big things. So I'm just happy to be a part of your journey, Ben.
Sometimes you just need somebody to believe in you. Sometimes you
Yeah,
just need somebody to buy you a mic every once in a while. And it
yeah.
was
And look
that
at you
just
now. I mean, like you have You are, yeah.
I'll tell you what, I've broken a lot of microphones since. Yeah, this is great. We got people checking in here. Sherry, listening from San Francisco. Kate, where in the world are you?
I'm actually right outside of San Francisco in Walnut Creek. So hi, Sherry. We're down the street from each other.
What's up? Simon Johns. Hi, Ben and Kate from London. Simon was an avid listener from season 1 as well. It's kind of funny that people kind of change and stuff throughout the season. But Kate, when we talked 3 years ago, tell me where Oncue was at that point, kind of what your product was like and where y'all were as a company.
Yeah, so it's gosh, and I like to say like when you found your own company, it's like dog years. So it might have felt like 3 years ago, but it kind of feels like 20.
Yeah.
So I had personally I had just had my first child, so I was like returning back to work. And the company was doing okay. Like we were starting to get some early traction, but we were relatively um new to the market. The product was out there and being adopted by some moving companies, but we were still pretty small. We were a really small operation. I think we had at the time like maybe 10 to 20 people total. Um, and we were, people didn't really know who we were in the industry. We're trying to make a name for ourselves and do different things. And so the last 3 years has certainly been a journey. We grew a lot. So we've, 4 or 5x our staff. Um, for we've more than tripled our customer base. So
Wow.
we now have customers all across the country, like all size customers. We've made a huge investment in our technology and continuing to make that the best in class technology for the industry. So it's definitely been a journey, a lot of highs and lows. Like looking back, it looks like it's like this, but it's kind of like that when you're going through it. If
Right.
you
You
know what I
got from
mean?
here to here, but there's a
Yeah.
whole lot of this in between, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, and I am really lucky to work with. We've got a phenomenal team of people. Our executive team is world class, and I think I'm just truly blessed and honored to work with the people that I get to work with on a daily basis. I learn so much from them each day, and then also from our customers. Learning a lot from our customers and their business, which I'll share as we get into
Yeah, I
it.
want to talk about that a little bit. We got Charles Beatty checking in from Acme. What's up, y'all? Put your questions in here because Kate's company does a lot in the realm of sales support for moving companies, and I want to put like your questions in the comment section around sales. I mean, what sales issues are you facing? What challenges do you face? Is it a customer acquisition problem? Is it how to handle the customers demand that you do have? Is it, are you doing a lot with telephone sales? Are you doing a lot with live chat? Like how are these coming in? I'm really curious about this because Kate, I don't know if you know this about me, but I actually have a background in call centers in the moving industry with
Oh
pods
yes.
and then at 1-800 pack rat. So I was
Mm,
actually a supervisor of a sales team of six up to so 5 or 6 supervisors and 120 sales agents at
wow.
pods. Yeah, it almost gave me a heart attack. Yeah, so yeah, I know a little something about it. So I'm really kind of curious about how you're helping moving companies with that, and I want to get into that real quick. Steve Whitecamp checking in
Oh,
from
Steve. Hi,
LA.
Steve.
You know Steve.
I know Steve. Yeah.
Steve's good people out there. Shout out to the California Moving Storage Association. Drew Phillips says, in the creek? Well, howdy, neighbor.
Oh, we're neighbors. Hi, Drew.
It's great. Look, y'all gonna have a little meetup now. Sherry's in Danville.
Oh, yeah. I'm very close. I'm in the southernmost part of Walnut Creek, so I'm very close to downtown Danville.
This is great. So tell people a little bit about how you support moving companies.
Yeah. So we offer a single all in one sales and software platform for moving companies. So we combine both technology to help moving company owners streamline their business. And then we also help them grow by providing US based staff that answers phone calls for them, follows up on their leads, and books moves for them. And through this approach, this last year, we booked over 100,000 moves on the OnCue platform, and we're
What?
continuing
Wait,
to grow.
100,000 moves you booked this last year?
Yeah, in 2022.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of moves. Yeah. And we're
Like
planning to do more this year. So
100,000 move. How many, like, I mean, I don't want to get too in your, in your business, but I mean, I'm really fat. 100,000 moves. I mean, that's like how many clients, like how many cities? I mean, can you help me understand like some of the metrics around this?
yeah, absolutely. So, to give you a sense, like I can't get into like specific numbers of like we have X amount of,
Okay.
but we're in all the major metros spread out across the U.S. It's all U.S. based, and we have a few hundred companies on our platform, and those
Wow.
companies range in size from 1 to 20 trucks or so.
Wow. Wow. And so are these leads and inquiries coming in? Are they coming in? And I noticed you said US based staff, which I think is really important. When I was working in a prior life at Pods, we at one point we had kind of had this Panamanian call center as well. And the conversion rate went way down. And we had issues with like the folks over there didn't know what a driveway was, and like they couldn't really like visualize and describe things. So we were having all sorts of issues with offshore staff. What was that decision for you to use American-based staff?
Yeah, I think it came down to, for inbound calls, because that's primarily what we're handling. Incoming calls, people have a higher expectation of what they're going to have happen on that call. And so, we wanted to make sure, like, we wanted to provide jobs. We wanted to provide jobs here. And we also wanted to make sure, moving is like, these moves can be higher ticket priced items. So the amount of context that an agent has to have has to be like really up there. And so we felt that that would be good for quality.
How much are moves these days?
Yeah, so the average move on our platform is a little over $1,000, and that is a combination between like local and long distance, which our customers do both. But the average move is around $1,000.
Okay, okay. And you are booking long distance moves as well?
Yeah, we're doing long distance moves. Typically, with long distance moves, we see clients will want, just depending on the tariff and where they're moving to and from, they'll want to do either a virtual on-site or go and see the house in person as well. But our team members are providing support on both ends of that process.
So you mentioned like a virtual on-site. Are you saying like a video survey, or like how is that, like how do you do that?
Yeah, video survey. Exactly.
And do you see that customers are more and more likely to accept video surveys now, as like they kind of trust that process now?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because one thing we did is we actually did a survey of like end customers and like how like not just for surveys but for like how they wanted to book their moves. And what we found is that 57% of customers actually indicated they would prefer to book their move online as opposed to phoning someone up and booking
So
their
they don't even
move.
want to talk to anybody at all.
They don't want to talk to anybody at all, right? They just want to get
Isn't
it
that
done.
funny? Because we're in the business, we're trying to interject people at every point and talking about what a great service touch that is. But it
Yeah.
sounds like our customers don't want to talk to us at all.
Yeah. And the other thing we noticed along with that study is like we have this technology that allows the customer, once they've been quoted, to actually book their move. Like they get a text message like, "Hey, you can reserve your link without having to call back." And if the data is still available, they can click that link, pay with Google Pay for their deposit and schedule. And we found a 60% interaction with that link. So people are much more likely to say, "Oh, I want to click on the link. I want to do it that way." And we've also built an online booking engine for people that want to book their moves, that want to book the majority of their move online without talking to an agent. Now, granted, for long distance, it's a little more tricky, but for the majority of local moves, it's pretty straightforward.
That's really interesting. If you're watching this right now, I want you to get in the comments. Let us know what you think. Do you think? I mean, this isn't your words, Kate, but I mean, I'm reading this from your customers here, or from customers in general. Do you think people are the problem in the process sometimes when booking, or when even trying to give service? Right? I mean, I know we talk. Oh, I just want to talk to a person. I just want to talk to a person. But like, I ordered a sandwich today, and I didn't talk to a person. And it was just sitting on a shelf when I popped into Jersey Mike's. And I was like very happy with that process. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if we kind of gunk up the works a little bit as people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. I think it depends. Moving is so complicated and such a complex process. It's hard to get your head around, right? Like somebody has some sort of like antique statue that they want to move on their move, right? And they want to talk to somebody about that because they don't want to. They don't trust. Like it's not like you're picking. All right, am I going to have mustard or mayonnaise on this? You're like, okay, are you going to be able to move this antique statue that my grandmother gave me? So I think that there's a place for people, but what we have found, and like kind of by design, is that like there's also a place for in this industry for AI and automation tools, and that's what we've built to help people interact. I mean, like I was just booking. I went to book like a hair appointment the other day, and my hairdresser was like seeing a client. So I get a text message and and it guided me through the whole thing. And then I asked her about it. I was like, was that a person? And she's like, no, that was a bot. And I'm like, it's amazing, right? Like you can get your hair, like all these services that are coming online. And I think with moving, there's a lot that you can do with, and that's we're experimenting with a lot of like, what can you do with AI to make it feel conversational, but use best practices and data to help convert the most and make sure that they're well prepared on move day and that you send the right amount of crew members and the right truck size.
Yeah, and I guess I would ask here and get in the comments. I want to hear what your thoughts are. If you're watching this right now, we see some people coming in here. Danny, Christina, we're gonna give y'all a shout out here in a second. And I want to know, Kate, and from everyone watching, like, what is that? What is that recipe of adding in AI and other types of automation, machine learning tools, so that it creates a better customer experience and not just a more cost efficient customer, right? Because I think a lot of times historically we get the IVR, right? The auto
Yes.
attendant, the voice recording, press one for this. And we know that's not for us. That's for the company that wants us to not have to talk to somebody for 30 seconds while they decide what
Yeah.
bucket they're going to drop us into, right? And unless we
Right.
like game the system, we're going to land offshore somewhere talking to the like, the lower skilled, call center bucket, right? So it's like, so how do we know as people who are designing these processes for our customers, what's the right balance and when are we interjecting AI and other things into the process for the benefit of the customer experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of measuring it, right? Like, so you can measure your conversion rates, right? Like, if the customer feels trustworthy enough that they actually reserve their move with the process, that's one thing. And then what's their satisfaction with the move overall, their overall rating, and also measuring customer satisfaction with that AI process, right? As like if they go through the AI engine or interact with it, what's the rating that they would give it after that fact. Like that experience I had booking my hair appointment was amazing, and I didn't even really know that it was done in a way that was so eloquent that I didn't know that I was interacting with a bot. I thought I was just talking to talking to her receptionist.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you bring up, right? Because we voiced our displeasure. I say we like we voiced our displeasure for years with this whole auto attendant call center kind of process that's become ubiquitous, and
Yep.
nobody seems to care, right? And so it's not like the data is not there telling you that this process is terrible, right? It's just the unwillingness to change by companies, right? So
Right.
I think I like what you're saying about measure the data and respond to it and tweak as necessary. We got people checking in here. I want to see what folks say out there, and I want you to kind of respond to some of these things.
Yeah.
First, we have someone from New Jersey here. We love Danny. We don't hold New
Oh yeah.
Jersey against Danny. Danny's great. Great sandwiches out there, by the way. Christina saying 57%. Wow, I couldn't agree more. I don't want to be bothered. As long as you're doing what you say you do, I'm happy. Christina, we
Great
love
point,
customers like
Christina.
you. Christina's awesome. Drew saying, welcome to the new customer and process. This is definitely the way moving forward. Automation to order the service until the service takes place, then all hands on deck to make the service personalized and supreme.
Hmm.
I wonder when we talk about this, right? We talk about automation and technology, and people are worried, of course, about losing jobs. But the
Yeah.
argument's always been that those jobs just appear at different parts of the value chain, right? So instead of
Yeah.
picking, picking the cotton in the fields, now you're in the factory manufacturing sweaters or something like that,
Right.
right? Do you see with automation some of the folks who are taking these customer inquiries maybe transitioning to different parts of the value chain?
Yeah, I definitely do. So like I think it's happened in our own organization where we've moved folks, we've promoted internally, whether that's to management, managing a team of people, or going to the customer success side of our business and working with our customers. So we've done a lot of promotions internally of those folks to different areas. This kind of reminds me of, I just saw this article, so I think it's really timely about IKEA and what they did, which is like, I think fascinating. But IKEA had a big call center, and they have retrained because they've been able to use AI. They have retrained or upskilled their call center folks to actually be on the spot interior designers and interior design consultants. So now that group of people is now like not simply like answering requests like, okay, my kitchen order is broken or something. They're actually providing design guidance and consultation. So I think that's a huge area of promise for AI. And I think with moving, I agree. Like, I don't think technology is necessarily there to replace the role. And I think it will replace some of the like lower value add tasks that are in that value chain. But I think it also can enhance, the ability to have an AI engine that can easily suggest like pricing automatically and calculate that on the fly. That can answer, guide you through a script or can guide you and suggest the next question based on what that person asked, can just make that whole interaction more meaningful as well. So I think there's a lot of benefit of technology just helping to improve the level of service.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm seeing with this AI, bots now is they're fast. They're every bit as fast as a human, sometimes faster, especially when humans like having to research something, like that's when we lose automatically. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. I mean, the I love your idea. I love your point with IKEA. I would love to have someone like design the room for me and give me that kind of consultation. And oh, by the way, I'm selling more furniture too if I'm IKEA doing that.
Yeah.
Whereas
Exactly.
before you're a cost center over here in the call center, but now you're a
Yeah.
revenue center, revenue generating activity. So I love that
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. Revenue generating activity. And I think especially for sales, there's just a lot of like untapped use cases for it provides more confidence to the person on the phone. There's just a lot you can do there.
Yeah, and I think we talk about there's like a severe talent shortage in well everywhere, but I mean here in the states, and it's at all levels, right? It's at the
Hmm.
computer science level, it's at the customer service level, it's at all like areas of the supply chain, if you will, right? And so there's just a lot of jobs that people don't want to do. And I think that
Hmm.
there are some of those jobs that are probably easily automated as well. And people just kind of feel underutilized, I think, in these roles. And so they kind of gravitate away from them. So I
Yeah.
think I think it's going to be kind of a nice it's going to come in at the right time, it feels like for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting.
Now David has a counterpoint here, and I think this is really fun and valid too. Get in the comments. Are we off base? Are we crazy? Huh? Are we drinking our own bathwater out here? Let me know. All right. Let's see. I
Uh-huh.
always love that expression, so I use it whenever I can. David Yakum says demographics are driving the faceless, voiceless technology. David, but our faces aren't getting any better looking. Okay. I mean, I think that's, we have to own that, David. I used to work with David in my prior life here. A 70-plus-year-old responds differently than a 25 to 30-year-old. Know your customer using advanced predictive analytics. How do we make sure that certain aspects and segments of the customer base aren't left behind in this shift?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why, like, I firmly believe that, like, there will always be a place for that personalized touch, right? Like, I'm a big embracer of technology, and I believe that there is always going to be a group of people that will pick up the phone, that will want you to come to their house, to look at their house, to physically see it, to physically see what's going. Like, that is always going to exist. So I think if you tend to go like, oh, technology is going to replace it all and it's like an all or nothing, I think that's the wrong way to look at it. And I think what David mentions is an excellent point of like, no, it really depends on the customer and it depends on how they respond, and making sure that you know that like you're going to have different demographics and being able to respond, and also realize like, okay, the majority of your demographic was this, now it's shifting to this, but you still want to make sure you capture that other demographic as well.
Yeah, and I think where we're going now is we're actually getting to, I think technology is more accessible than it's ever been because we're eliminating a lot of the interfaces and the, it used to be you had to code, right? You
Hmm.
had to code to be a technologist, right? And I saw something in an article recently, I think it was senior executive at Tesla, said that the computer programming language of the future is English because you just say prompts. You just write them or
Interesting.
say them, and that's what ChatGPT and other tools are using. And it's like, well, that's right up to 70-year-olds alley, right? I mean, they, they're probably better writers than the younger people are, right? Because it's just more in their core, their core. So, dude, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that if you're watching there. But I mean, I think when we start talking about like, hey Siri, like I see my dad all the time. Dad's 77. Where's my dad? Is he 77? Did I get that wrong? 79. Is that right? I'm looking at
Wow.
79. Hey dad, hope you're out there. Um, but he's like, no, he's not 79. What am I doing? He's born in 52. What is that? 69? Somebody help me. My dad's old. He's not too old though, but he's kind of old. But he's the type of guy that's like talking to his phone all the time to like talk to text,
Yeah.
or he's like, Siri, what time's the movie? I feel like if we can get to that point with our moves, I mean, that's kind of where we want to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so like, I mean, that's the funny and interesting thing about the demographic too, is that like you could like you raise an interesting point of like the 70-year-old could be more adopting of technology than the 25-year-old too. Like it's not necessarily like an age preference.
Yeah. I love that. Was it Progressive Insurance where they're walking around the hardware store talking on speakerphone? Like, it's like you shouldn't do that. I found myself, I hit 40. I start doing stuff like that, putting people on speaker for no reason.
I do that when
Sherry's,
I'm calling like the bank or something and I need like some sort of password. Well, yeah, I'm calling bank because I'm not using the chat functionality. But
they're calling back and they're like, ma'am, what is your password? And you're like, password,
my password is password. Don't tell
like
anyone.
password $123 sign. Sherry saying, I agree with Kate. Know your audience and understand there's a place for both. How much of this is really gonna get into moving though, right? I mean, like we're kind of like art of the possible out here. And I mean, but is this really applicable to the moving and relocation industry? Are we really going to be able to just chat away with a bot for our customer service? I mean, at what point can we get to do you believe in the next 5 years, I'm going to say, we're going to
Yeah.
get to a 0% human interaction customer service for our moving and relocation needs?
Not zero, but I think pretty close. Like I think that it will be like if you think about it, there's two ends of the spectrum. There's the pre-move process, right? And then there's the post-move. There's three: pre-move, during the move, and post-move. If you think about pre-move, that's where we're doing all this research. We've already done these automations, AI. Like there's going to continue to be a lot of pre-move things to make that process touchless. During the move, there's certain things that are going to be, but you still have to like interact with the movers and say where things are going, and I think that will still have to be a very in person thing. And then the post move process, I think a big area that I'm excited about is like customer service and claims. Like that's an area where AI could be hugely beneficial, right? Like having someone, guiding someone through a process where they're going through the claims process, they're interacting with a bot to do it, and then maybe someone has to review it on the other end, so there is still that human interaction. But like that whole like, oh, I'm going to call and like file a claim and have to call customer service, like I think that whole process could be And that would also be like claims can be costly, right? So like that's an area where you'd have a lot of cost savings. But I think all three areas, but mainly pre-move and post-move, have a lot of room for
I think the claims thing is
technology.
really interesting because you don't see, that's one of the things people hate filling out claims. They hate it, right? It's like, yeah, it's the worst. It's like filling out an expense report, except everything's broken and you may only get 50% of your money back. It's just the
Yeah.
worst. So if you
And
could
there's
like talk it through with Chat GPT, take a picture, say, hey, what is this? What year is this? What make and model? Like, I don't know the make and model of stuff. I don't know a year. I don't know what I paid for it, 5
yeah,
years ago. Like, you tell me what I paid for this 5 years ago on Amazon.
right. Right. And a lot of times it's also like if it's a lean operation, it could be like the dispatcher or the owner sometimes handling the
Oh,
claim,
yes.
right?
I've
And
talked to so
so
many owners handling claims of small moving companies.
yeah. And so that can pose a problem because that's a big time commitment. And then also you have like, there's a few studies that show like people are much more forgiving of technology than they are of people. So they're interacting with the bot and the bot tells them they only get, X amount. They're like, okay, the bot told me that.
There must be better math behind the bot than there was when
Yeah.
Jim and
Yeah.
claims said no. Um,
Yeah.
Speaking of claims and other pain points and stuff like that for moving business owners, you talk to hundreds of moving business owners. What are the biggest pain points? Maybe give me a couple.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest pain points that we see is like established business owners are spending way too much time in their business and not enough on the business. So everything is some sort of disparate process, whether it's lead management, booking moves, following up with customers, make sure they pay, and then if you're lucky, getting a customer review. Um, so a lot of time is spent more on the operational side of the business and focusing on like how can I grow this, how can I scale this, and it's really tough to do. And then I think the other area that's pretty difficult is hiring. So whether that's and I think that it's hiring crews, crew leads, dispatchers, salespeople, estimators, all of those roles. Like hiring is really tough, and finding the right people, it can be really costly. And then the tenure, we know that the tenure for salespeople is around 16 months. So by the time you train them and get them up and operational, which takes about 5 months, they're leaving in under a year. So you have to continuously be hiring. So I think that's some of the pain points that we see from moving company owners.
Wow. Yeah, it really resonates. I was looking at buying a moving company once, a small moving company, and I saw the owner going from sales process, like he was following like the business like through each phase. Like so, he's taking the sales call, he's quoting them over the phone, closing them. Then now it's like time to like send the trucks out, and he's kind of overseeing dispatch. And then he's like calling the customers to make sure everything's going good, maybe trying to get a review. Like he's like following, and then of course the claim, and oh, and now he's dealing with payment issues or bounce credit cards or bad checks or whatever. And I'm just like, how is this scalable? You can't be a jack of all trades in your
Yeah.
company, whatever company you're in. So what?
Right.
Okay, so where do y'all come in? Which part of that do y'all take over? And what like? I'll be honest with me here. I mean, what are some of the trade offs here? Like, what are the pros and cons of outsourcing part of your process if you're a moving company?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think that there's, we typically take over in that spot. Like our customers have usually been in business for a few years. They're anywhere from starting at like call it 3 truck operations, and they have aspirations to do more. So whether that's grow their business organically, open up another location, um, potentially expand in their region, they typically come to us because they want to do some sort of scaling, and they're at the point where either they're doing it themselves or they're trying to do it with a sales team and maybe the salesperson just left. Um, they're having issues training the salespeople. They're having issues with the salesperson showing up on time, like calling in sick a lot. Like we
Hmm.
see we see a lot of that. So I think the thing of like why people come to us is because they want to scale and they want to grow. And like, if they want to grow, and that growth can also be, hey, I'm doing it myself. I've got a 6-truck operation and I don't want to be tied to my phone 24/7, right? Like, I don't want to be on Saturday, I want to go out on my friend's boat, or I want to go out on my boat and enjoy myself. I don't want to have to sit here on the phone. So they want that. So some of the pros of this is it's very cost effective. It's scalable. You know, we've built a lot of technology and automation to scale, and we've trained our agents. So our agents are trained in the moving industry. We spend about 4 weeks with them, teaching them everything they need to know about the industry before they even go live on the phone. So you're getting a quality salesperson or team of salespeople right out of the gate. And then we also have a QA team. So we QA a portion of every agent's calls and give them a QA score, and they have to hit a certain QA score to stay on. And there's a different reward system. So
QA, quality assurance.
Quality assurance, yes.
Okay.
Quality assurance.
And that's something that, frankly, moving companies, unless you're at like the van line level, are not doing quality assurance. Like, I might pull a phone call if some Mrs. Jones called and is complaining and cussing me up and down. I might pull that call, but generally speaking, I am not doing quality assurance on every inbound phone call that comes into our organization.
Yeah.
And I should be. I totally should be. Because you know, what I've seen, I mean, and you tell me what what are some of the things that you catch in the QA process?
Yeah.
What are some of the things you're looking for?
So we have a whole scorecard. So it's pretty in depth. It's about 20 different criteria. Like, first and foremost, we're looking for, are they professional on the phone? You know, do they follow the mover's policies? So each mover has set policies. Like, one mover might say, you know, I charge for this particular thing. I charge for shrink wrap. So did they charge for shrink wrap? Did we cover the extra charges that the mover had? Did they ask for the business? Did they provide a clear and accurate pricing to the customer? Like, did they make sure to not say to the customer, like, oh, you have a 2-bedroom house, that'll be about 2 hours for your move. And we all know we're looking for that, making sure that they're setting the right expectations on the call too. So those are just a few of the things that we're looking for in the QA process, but that really helps make sure that, and we do follow up not just on inbound calls, but we do follow up on paid leads, leads that come in from a website, Yelp, anything like that as well. So we do QA across all the different types of leads that come in.
I got to ask, you talk about website, Yelp. It feels like reviews are so important. And I talk to moving companies that win awards left and right, and you go on Yelp and they're like a 2.7.
Yeah.
And they're just getting crushed on Yelp. And then I go on Yelp and there's like some dude, just a dude who will load your U-Haul. And he's got a 5-star on 40 reviews.
Well, I always think of, like, there's a vendor in Dolores Park, San Francisco, for those of you that are from the Bay Area, who has literally, he sells chocolate in like out of like a little cart, and has like 100 5-star reviews on Yelp. And I just think of that whenever you say Yelp reviews. But look, reviews are important. I think reviews are important for local, if you're trying to drive that local presence. And then I think it's a matter of a commitment. Like, it's a strong commitment to making sure, Yelp, I will say, like, I think Yelp has, while it is still a place that people go, I'm starting to see people go more to Google and rely more on Google as like an accurate source. So like, if someone was starting out on like their brand reputation, I would say, like, focus on Google first. But there are some things you can do, like, because Yelp, it's a little bit harder to manipulate the algorithm. And the other thing with Yelp is that if someone doesn't review often but reviews on Yelp, those reviews typically can get deleted. Yeah. So you don't have that with like Google reviews. So if you're starting out on your reputation management journey, I always think, like, hey, start with Google, because like at least there's some more. There's more you can do there. You can respond to the reviews. It's not as opaque as Yelp with like, oh, this review was deleted. Like, you go on the 2.7-star review and you look, and there's like 10 hidden 5-star reviews, right? So, but I do think it's an important place, you know, and I think it's important to figure out like you really have to ask and select like, you know, you've got to ask for those reviews after the service and make sure that people are filling out that link and responding.
One of the things when I was doing reputation management for a moving company at my last job, one of the things that I learned, I didn't know this, is when you use Apple Maps and you say like moving companies nearby, like you just go on Apple Maps to like moving companies nearby, it sources the review data from Yelp.
Mm,
And
interesting.
yeah, and so like the people, and I'm like, and I just did that right now. I just did it for the purpose of this conversation. And I'm like looking at people loading trucks with no pads on the stuff. They're using like Home Depot boxes, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just interesting because to your point about the chocolate guy, right? So you're over there in the Bay, right? So you got
Yeah.
the dude with the cart selling chocolate, and then you got Ghirardelli selling chocolate down the street, and they're both gonna have 5-star reviews. Well, maybe Ghirardelli has like a 4.4, and
Yeah.
dude with it's like these are not the same 5-star chocolatiers.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's something that like our, you know, all of people on our platform, like we only work with licensed providers. And so that's
Yeah,
obviously a challenge in the industry as well as like rogue providers and
yeah,
things like that. So we're, you know, we're trying like I think that there does need to be more education to consumers, especially around, you know, choosing because it's like, okay, yeah, I got this great like I happen to find this person to help me move and then it's like okay well it's a third of the price and you're like okay well is that even right like I always try to educate my friends on that like okay there has to be like that's not that's not possible if they're licensed because they can't be paying you know they can't be paying
yeah.
things so
Well, in California, yeah, California, y'all have licensed. I mean, the whole state. It's
yeah
it is a regulated state. And I think that's one of the reasons. And I want to get into like the how you do what you like and like what parts you actually do because you
yeah
answer you well. I mean, you answer the calls for moving companies, right? I mean, they can
yep
they can point their phone number to you. You're taking the calls. You're making sure that they're answered within probably pretty quickly. I imagine, right?
yeah it's under our average speed of answer is under 20 seconds so
So her ASA,
yeah
as we say in the biz,
asa
is
yeah
under 20 seconds. Okay. Let me ask you though, do you get to the service level when you say, okay, what percentage of calls are answered within the 20
Mhm.
seconds? You're
Yep,
like,
we
okay,
do.
all right, cool.
Yeah,
We
we
don't
got
got to
all
dig
that.
in.
We
We don't got
have
to dig in
average
here.
speed.
But
Yeah.
the point is this is so valuable. And I'm gonna tell you why it's so valuable if you're out there running a movie company or any kind of company out there. The rogue movers out there, they don't do anything well except uh customer acquisition and answering the phone quickly or calling you quickly. So when they
Mhm.
buy a lead, they're calling you in 20 seconds or less. And your phone, I mean, you should try it right now. Get the phone number of someone you don't care for. Go on Google, type in long distance moving, pull that up, and then whatever the first ad on there is, click it, put their phone number in there. They will be getting a phone call within 20 seconds. And I think the only way to level that playing field between you know, excellent operators and frankly the scammers is to be able to partner with a professional service like Oncue to be able to take those phone calls with you. Because if you just give them to your front desk person, which is what we did at my last company, we just gave them the front desk answer the phone, right? And the receptionist, she's answering the phone, and she's answering the phone for the plumber. She's answering the phone for the sales lead. She's answering the phone for the CEO's, hair appointment, to confirm. I mean, she's answering the phone for everybody. And if she's on the phone with the CEO's hair appointment confirming the 3 o'clock, she's gonna miss the sales lead that comes in, right? And then they're
Yep.
on to the next one. So I think it's so important to work with a company like yours, Kate, frankly, if it's
Yeah.
the only way to compete.
Agreed. Agreed. I mean, that's the whole reason why I started it. I met with this amazing moving company owner and he's like, "Look, I'm out in the field like you know,
Yeah.
as an owner, you're busy. Like you can't be all places at once. And then you can't, even if you have staff, like if you have one or two staff, it's still not like leads come in at 5 p.m., 6 p.m. People call after work, people call on their weekends, they call during their lunch breaks. And then you're not where your customer is, and they expect, that's something, especially these days, is like people expect instant, right? They want it
Yes.
instantly.
24/7. If I'm sitting there at 6 o'clock on a Saturday night and me and the wife have finally gotten to a place where we could talk about our upcoming move without screaming and throwing things at each other, I want to make sure I can reach out to a movie company that I can book with at that moment,
Yeah.
right? And I don't
Yeah.
want to hear, oh, we are closed. Our office is closed. Call us back Monday between 9 and 4, and it's like,
Yeah.
what? Like
Yeah.
next. And then I go to the
Exactly.
person who is answering the phone at 6 o'clock on a Saturday, and it's either Kate or a rogue mover out there,
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. So if a movie company uses you,
Mhm.
are like, are y'all able to brand the call like, Ben Cross Movie Company, I can help you? Like, are y'all able to get to that level of granularity?
Yeah, absolutely. So we answer the call, like we have a very sophisticated phone system on a platform called Twilio that we developed
Oh, Twilio,
with
yeah.
Twilio. And so when a call comes in from Ben Cross Moving Company, our like teams are assigned to different movers. So like our pool that's assigned to your particular um, our pod of folks, will one of them will answer, who's ever available, and they'll say, Ben Cross Moving Company, how can I help you? And we're really trying to be an extension of your team. So even though we might not be in the office with you, we want to act like we are. So we have all your policies, and during the onboarding, we actually work with you to like listen to a couple of your calls, train the team on that to hear if it's you or a salesperson, because we also provide supplemental um, sales as well. So we're not an all or nothing. So if somebody has, like, let's say they have a couple office staff, or like they have one person in their office that's a really great salesperson, we'll say that's great. Like we'll just handle, we'll handle your overflow for you. We'll handle when they're off or when they're on the other line. You can set it
Right.
up to be flexible. So, but yeah, we want to make it seem like that. And then our technology, everybody you logs in, sends out an estimate with your logo, all of your particular details on it. It all looks like it's your moving company. And the other benefit is that all of our agents are remote. So from a calling perspective basis, it's actually it's really nice because like there's no background noise when we listen to these calls and stuff. And like if you come from the call center space, like it's
Yeah.
very hard to
Yep.
like cut down on that noise. And so because our agents are across the country, it does allow us to do that.
No, it's great. I mean, even with noise canceling headphones, right? You're still picking up stuff around you, and yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Every time I call the bank, right? It's like,
Yeah. Right.
yeah,
Like, how secure is my information? I can hear what they're saying.
yeah,
I mean, how,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah. No, that's really great. I was at a North American Van Lines sales conference several years ago, and they showed a stat that said that people book with 70% of people book with the first movie company they talk to. And
Wow.
I don't know if that stat still holds true or not. This is about 5 years ago, but I was really struck by that. And it really created a sense of urgency for me, which I then relate to my team, about why it was important to pick up the phone like ASAP, right? B, get out there as soon as you could, because I mean we were still strongly preferring in-home surveys at the time. And also when we had a lead come in, how fast, calling them back like within seconds, not minutes, on days. So what about with leads? Like when leads come in, do any of your customers use you? I'm really fascinated by this, like online leads. So yeah. Do y'all make outbound calls too? How does that work?
Yeah, we strive to touch every lead with 5 times, whether that's an
Oh
incoming
wow.
call or an outbound lead. And we have technology that like when a lead comes in, it auto dials that lead and connects it with the next available agent.
Wow.
So it auto dials them, so we get to the leads as fast as possible as well. So like we're pretty quick on that too. So paid leads. anything like that, as well. And then we touch them 5 times. We have follow-up process. We've also automated that. So like when there's a setup for like the next step, it will automatically call that person at the follow-up time and ensure that the follow-up is handled as well.
All right, this is fascinating, and I could talk to you about moving phone calls for a long time, longer than I'm
Yeah.
proud of, to be honest with you. But I want to get to something. I want to have a little fun with you, okay? I want to do a little
Okay.
overrated, underrated with you, okay?
All
We're gonna do
right.
like a
Let's
little
do it.
lightning round because we only got a few minutes left here, okay?
Okay.
So this is great. Hit that like button right now. Janet Turner says, I'm interested to hear more. Oh, Janet's interested. Janet's like, I'm tired of
All right.
these phone calls, Kate.
Let's talk.
Awesome, Janet. Cool. All right, let's get into it real quick here. We're gonna do kind of a lightning round here. Overrated, underrated. Do you know how to play this game, Kate?
I believe so. Yes.
Yes. Okay. It's very intuitive. All right, let's go. First one. Is it overrated or underrated? Personal growth.
Underrated.
Underrated. Okay, that was an easy one.
Underrated.
That was
So
an
I
easy
think
one.
that's like, as being an entrepreneur for this one is like, yeah, the learning that you get and the pace of learning. I didn't really believe in until I was one, and now I really believe in it. So
Drew is here for overrated, underrated. Let's do it. Yes, thank you, Drew. Thanks. This is what you tune in for. This is what you hang around for. Janet's giving you the thumbs up. All right, personal growth. I think we can all agree on that one. That was an easy one. All right, next. Google AdWords, overrated or
ooh.
underrated?
Depends on for what.
Moving, Kate.
Okay, moving. I think it's slightly overrated. And here's why. Like repeat customers and referrals are the top two sources. Web search is pretty high up there too as like the third. We did a survey of our customers and like what the best performing lead sources are. And so repeat customers and referrals are higher than Google AdWords. I don't mean don't do Google AdWords, but it's a slippery slope with that. And like make sure you're working with somebody that really knows what they're talking about with Google AdWords, because it's easy to get spend and like not get anything out of it.
Here's a
So
hot take.
overrated.
Nobody knows
Yeah,
what they're talking about with Google AdWords. I don't think
that's
Google
a good
knows what they're
one.
talking about. Google's just like out here, like, hey, how high can we raise the price? I don't know. I have an algorithm that says the price is going up on these AdWords.
Exactly.
All right, and now I'll show six or seven on the first page of results now. And anyway, don't even get it.
Yeah.
Now the 3-pack and the AdWord and the ads are like the only thing on the first page. Okie
Yeah.
dokie. All right, you are correct. It is overrated. All right, next.
Right.
Water parks.
Okay. Hot take here. Overrated. Just, I don't
I'll
know.
allow it.
Like the lazy river just doesn't do it for me anymore. I used to think it was really cool, but like now, like, and then you got to wait in these lines. And
Let
it's
me give you a
hot.
hot take. Let me give you a hot take. The
Yes.
lazy river is a dramatically different experience with a 3-year-old than it is with a margarita. Okay.
That is very true. I would agree. I would agree with that. And maybe that's why my view on water parks has changed, because I've got a 2.5 and a 4-year-old. And so
Exactly. All right. Next. San Francisco, overrated or underrated?
ooh, near and dear
I
to
told
my
you they get
heart.
harder. I told you they get harder.
They get real hard. Underrated. Has some of the best restaurants. I don't know. I've lived a lot of my like life dreams in San Francisco. I am still super bullish on San Francisco as a city. So I think it's a little underrated.
Cool. Respect. Yeah, I've only been a few times. I don't think I've really gotten the full experience, but I've enjoyed myself every time. And yeah, I think I grew up near New York in White Plains, New York,
Yeah.
and New York was written off during COVID, and they're like, "Oh, New York's done, and it's never going to be back." And it's back and better than ever. And I think San Francisco's got the same, you know,
Yeah.
trajectory coming. So
It's up and coming.
Drew saying underrated. If you know, you know.
Yep.
That. Okay.
Yeah. Agreed.
Awesome. Kate DeWald, this has been a lot of fun. I'm going to leave you with a final thought here. What do you want to share with people before we call it a day?
Cool. I know it's peak season for a lot of you in the moving industry. And so, I think, you know, I'm just glad that an honored that you joined us and took this time out of your day. And if you have any questions about anything sales related, moving company related, peak season, like data, AI related, I would love to chat and get to know you more.
Yeah, awesome. And she is a giver. She's always been very, very gracious and magnanimous with me, and a good friend of the show, Kate. Thank you so much for being on today. Kate DeWald
Yeah.
from Oncue.
All
Thanks
right.
everybody for tuning in.
Thanks, man.
Check us out next time. Take care, y'all. We will